65 में, और हर रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को जीएसटी 9 तो भरना ही है। तो अगर आप 9 भी नहीं भर रहे हो तो इट विल डीम्ड कि वो और सबमिट हो चुका था एट द टाइम ऑफ ड्यू डेट।
करेक्ट
तो
करेक्ट।
उसके बेसिस पे वो कर देंगे फिर ऑडिट।
We are live now on YouTube. So start.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं सीए ऋषु गोयल, प्रेसिडेंट ग्लोबल चैम्बर ऑफ प्रोफेशनल्स, आप सभी का स्वागत करता हूं ग्लोबल चैम्बर ऑफ प्रोफेशनल्स के इस यूट्यूब चैनल पर। और आज हमारे साथ हमारे फाउंडर प्रेसिडेंट मुकेश सिंह जी भी जुड़ चुके हैं। नमस्कार मुकेश जी। और हमारे वाइस प्रेसिडेंट सचिन सिन्हा, श्वेता मैम जो आज की मॉडरेटर हैं, और शुभम जी जो आज के हमारे स्पीकर हैं। तो हम लोगों ने 3 दिन की सीरीज रखी है 6, 7, 8 नवंबर को, जिसके अंदर हाउ टू टैकल विद द इंट्रिकेसीज विद द डिपार्टमेंट। अभी जीएसटी का काम अभी शुरू हुआ है, तो लोगों को ये थोड़ा आइडिया नहीं है कि डिपार्टमेंट के साथ मिलके चलना है, कैसे चलना है, या क्या फ्लोज हैं, क्या टेक्निकलिटीज हैं, कैसे हम बच सकते हैं, या कैसे हम उसको और अच्छे से हैंडल कर सकते हैं। तो आज इन्हीं सब चीजों के बारे में हमें आज पता चलेगा। तो 3 दिन का हमारा यही सेशन है, जिसमें आज हम लोग कवर करेंगे कि डिपार्टमेंट के अंदर जब डिपार्टमेंट से जीएसटी ऑडिट असाइन होती है किसी एसएससी के लिए, तो एज ए सीए आपकी क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, एज ए एसएससी आपकी क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, या एज ए कंसल्टेंट आपकी क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, और वो क्या क्या चेक कर सकते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली उनकी पावर्स क्या है, और आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी या ड्यूटी क्या है, और उस पावर को वो किस एक्सटेंट तक जा सकते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली आप उनको क्या हेल्प करनी चाहिए, क्या नहीं करनी चाहिए, क्या सेफगार्ड्स है, क्या मीजर्स है, जो आप लोग सब चेक कर सकते हैं। तो मैं ज्यादा समय ना लेते हुए सचिन भैया से आग्रह करूंगा कि वे आए और 2 शब्द कहें। ओवर टू यू सचिन भैया।
थैंक यू ऋषि भाई, थैंक यू सो मच। वेलकम मुकेश जी, हमारे प्रेसिडेंट साहब, हमारे फाउंडर प्रेसिडेंट साहब, और शुभम भाई जो आज डिलिब्रेट करेंगे। एक्चुअली जीएसटी चूंकि नया सब्जेक्ट है, 2017 में आया है, तो बहुत सारे अभी तक तो लोगों ने रिटर्न फाइल की और लोगों को लगा था कि चलो रिटर्न फाइल कर देंगे तो जो भी हमने डिटेल भर दिया वही सफिशिएंट है। पर आज जब मैंने इनका टॉपिक देखा, डे 1, डे 2 और डे 3 का, तब मुझे लगा कि कहानी यहाँ खत्म नहीं होती, इनफैक्ट कहानी यहाँ से शुरू होती है। तो ये जो नोटिसेस आएंगे जिनका उनको कैसे हैंडल करना है, प्लस डिपार्टमेंट का ऑडिट हुआ वो कैसे हैंडल करना है, और प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए इसमें अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी काफ़ी सारी हैं। तो अगर कोई प्रोफेशनल्स को अपने अपॉर्चुनिटी के एंगल से भी अगर इसको समझे तो मुझे लगता है कि वो बहुत ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल होगा। तो आज के सेशन के लिए हमारे साथ शुभम अग्रवाल जी हैं, और आज का सेशन मॉडरेट करेंगे सीए श्वेता जिंदल जी। तो मैं श्वेता जिंदल जी को फॉर्मली इंट्रोड्यूस करता हूँ। Shweta Jindal ji, a qualified chartered accountant. She qualified in May 2019 with exemption of 5 subjects. Very important to note. Also post-graduated in May 2019. Professional details: working in CA firm Mrs. Goyal Singhal and Associates as a chartered accountant in taxation department, and having experience of consultancy of more than 1 year in taxation field. And I had also come to know that she is head speaker of various platform on GST as well. सो जीएसटी मैम का आई थिंक कोर एरिया है, और जीएसटी में इन्होंने काफ़ी डिलिबरेट किया है। तो आज के लिए इनसे अच्छा कोई मॉडरेटर नहीं हो सकता। तो मैं आगे के प्रोग्राम के लिए श्वेता जी को हैंड ओवर करता हूँ, और श्वेता जी को से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आज के स्पीकर को फॉर्मली इंट्रोड्यूस करें और कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाएं। थैंक यू सो मच।
Hello everyone. So today we are with the CA Mr. Shubham Agrawal sir, and he is a practicing chartered accountant in his firm RS AG and Company, having post qualification experience of more than 8 years. He is also a law graduate and did his LLB from Faculty of Law, Delhi. He has also done diploma in information system audit from ICAI. He is also done GST certificate course from ICAI. He has been a special invitee to IDTC of ICAI. He is also a faculty of GST of ICAI. He is an expert in field of GST and has given various seminars on various platforms like Nikasa, Doordarshan and ICAI. He also got featured on CBIC Twitter handle for new return system implementation. He has given various corporate training sessions and trained various professionals. So हम सबको पता है सर कितने एक्सपीरियंस्ड हैं और कितने एक्सपर्ट हैं अपनी फील्ड में। सो आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क सर, कैन वी टेक द क्वेरीज इन बिटवीन द सेशन और एट द एंड ऑफ द सेशन?
I'm comfortable either ways, but I think it will be good if we take it in the end. Rest, you people can decide, not an issue.
Okay. So I request all the viewers to post their queries in the chat box so that we can take the queries at the end of the session and according to sir. So over to you, sir.
Thank you. At the outset, I would like to thank Global Chamber of Professionals, our founding president, Shri Mukesh Singh ji, our sitting president, Shri Rishu Goyal ji, Shri Sachin Sinha ji, and Shweta Jindal ji, to give me this opportunity on your platform to speak on Section 65 GST Department Audit with special insight on the GST audit manual issued by the department itself. I consider myself as a student of GST and not an expert. And I would like to thank you for the kind words and the kind introduction that you have shared about me. Without taking much time, I would move on to the topic. Kindly tell me if you can see my presentation.
No, it is not visible yet, sir.
एक मिनट सर, मैं आपको को होस्ट बना देता हूँ, पहले नहीं बना पाया था, सॉरी. यस, नाउ यू कैन शेयर योर पीपीटी.
Is it visible?
नो सर.
No, sir.
सर अब आप करें, मैंने पोस्ट बनाया आपको.
एक बार दोबारा से शेयर कीजिए शुभम भाई.
मैंने किया, अब दिख रहा है क्या?
नहीं दिख रहा सर.
No, sir.
मैं इसमें शेयर स्क्रीन पे मैंने क्लिक किया.
आप यस, अब आ जाएगा.
अब ठीक है?
आ गया सर.
Yes.
आ गया.
यस, आ
बिल्कुल
गया.
आ गया.
Right. So our focus would be on Section 65 GST audit done by the department. We know that we have already done our audit under Section 35, Section 5, where the chartered accountants and cost accountants would give a true and fair view while doing the GST audit of the SSE and give a form 9C. Now the tables have been turned. The department would come to the SSE and they would do the audit of the SSE either by calling them to their department or by making a field visit. This had to done quite earlier, but we know that the GST 9 and 9Cs had been extended time and again. So the GST 9 and 9C of 2017-18 were filed only recently, around 6-7 months back. And the moment they were filed, the flow of ADT 01, that is the notice for conduct of audit under Section 65 had been started. But then the whole economy, the whole country, the whole world was struck by the pandemic. And as a result, those audits are also made under suspension. But the things have started to get normalized and the audit has again initiated. So it will be worthwhile to understand what the GST audit department manual says. The first point that comes is the selection of units. Earlier, the criteria for the selection of units are very simple. It was based on the duties paid and the total turnover. If the duty paid was large or if the assessee had a large turnover, it was understood that the assessee would be picked up for the department audit. But now the selection process has become more scientific. How the criteria will be determined, we will discuss in the upcoming slides. What will be the audit process undertaken by the department? So first of all, the SSE master file will be made. Thereafter, a desk review would be done, a revenue risk analysis would be done, trend analysis would be done with respect to SSE and the industry also. So let us say a steel industry is there. if the trend of the steel industry is up or it is going down, and on the basis of that, the selection criteria would be determined, information would be gathered, internal control of the assessee would be seen, and then there are various GST annexures which the department would ask the assessees to fill. Let us understand the definition of audit. Section 2, subsection 13 defines audit as the examination of records, returns, and other documents maintained or furnished by the registered person under this Act or rules made thereunder or under any other law for the time being in force. So, dear friends, please see the audit definition includes the words under any other law. And inter alia, the correctness of turnover declared, taxes paid, refund claimed, and input tax credit availed, and to assess his compliance with the provisions of this Act or rules made thereunder. So I receive a lot of queries that, sir, during GST department audit, the officers are asking for income tax audit reports, they are asking for director's report, but the audit is under GST law. So I tell them that section 2 subsection 13 already gives them the power by mentioning of the words under any other law. So we should not create any friction on that point. Now, section 35 subsection 5 versus section 65. We have already done audit under section 35 subsection 5 and filed form 9C. Now the audit would be done by the department. Now what will happen if the departmental officers are able to find out some nitty-gritties, some issues which the chartered accountant intentionally or unintentionally could not find out earlier? So since the tables have been turned, it can be said that it is also a review of the audit already done by the chartered accountant. So we have to see if the chartered accountant, while doing the audit, had followed all the substantive and compliance procedures. And you see, audit can only at the best give an assurance. And the form is also of true and fair and not of true and correct. So there might be certain points which the CA or the cost accountant at the time of doing 9C audit could have missed it out. But we have to adhere to the basic principle that auditor is a watchdog and not a bloodhound. And rest I would leave to the intelligence of the learned audience that what will happen if the department is able to find out certain grave issues which the CA could not find out, especially in the light of disciplinary committee and NAFRA. Now let us come to section 65. Subsection 1 says the commissioner or any officer authorized by him by way of a general or a specific order may undertake audit of any registered person for such period, at such frequency, and in such manner as may be prescribed. So audit can be done only of the registered person. Section 65 is not applicable on unregistered persons. And this authorization has to come from commissioner or any officer which is authorized by the commissioner himself. Then subsection 2 says officer referred to in subsection 1 may conduct audit at the place of business of the registered person or in their office. So they can do a field visit or they can call the assessee to the department for verification of various records. It is worthwhile to note that what is place of business. The same has been defined in section 2 subsection 85, where place of business includes a place from where the business is ordinarily carried on and includes a warehouse, a godown, or any other place where a taxable person stores his goods, supplies, or receives goods or services or both, a place where a taxable person maintains his books of account, a place where a taxable person is engaged in the business through an agent. So those officers have the right to visit any of these premises, a godown, a warehouse, or an area or an office where books of accounts are kept, or from where business is ordinarily carried on. All these are covered in the place of business. Now, subsection 3. The registered person shall be informed by way of a notice, not less than 15 working days prior to the conduct of audit. So, a notice ADT01 will be issued by the department, and 15 working days time period will be given before the audit can be conducted. What is working days? So common working day has been defined in section 2 subsection 57. It means in respect of a state or union territory shall mean such days in succession which are not declared as gazetted holidays by the central government or the respective state government. Hence, if there is a holiday declared by the state government, then that will be excluded from the calculation of 15 days. Or if there is a holiday declared by the central government, then that day will also be excluded from the calculation of 15 days. Subsection 4. Audit under subsection 1 shall be completed within a period of 3 months from the date of commencement of audit, provided that where the commissioner is satisfied, he may, for reasons to be recorded in writing, extend the period by further period not exceeding 6 months. So once the audit is commenced, the audit has to be completed within 3 months, but that time period can be extended by further period of 6 months. But those reasons should be recorded in writing and should be provided to the assessee. And if assessee is not agreeing to those reasons, then those reasons can be challenged before Honorable High Court in Article 226 or to the Supreme Court through a writ petition. And then court will see if the application of minor was done and whether the reasons were properly recorded in writing or not for the extension of the time period. Now, 3 months have to be completed from the date of commencement of audit. Now, what is commencement of audit? Commencement of audit shall mean the date on which the records and other documents called for by the tax authorities are made available by the registered person or the actual institution of audit at the place of business, whichever is later. So let us take an example that departmental officer asked for some records on 1st January. They were made available by the assessee on 5th January. And the field visit was done, that is the institution of audit at the place of business on 10th January. So when the records were made available, it was 5th January, and the actual institution of audit at the place of business was at 10th January. So the commencement date would be deemed to be 10th January. But it is not simple. When it comes to the practical audit, we would notice that the department keeps on asking information one after other. On 5th January, it would ask for some information. On 10th January, again, it would ask for some more information. On 20th January, again. So there is no conclusiveness that when to determine a particular date as the commencement of audit date. Neither any notice is given that, okay, this date should be considered as the commencement of audit date. So this is a provision where some clarity should be issued by the CBIC that what date should be the commencement of audit. Because once we know the date of commencement of audit, thereafter only 3 months can be calculated. Subsection 6 says, on conclusion of audit, the proper officer shall within 30 days inform the registered person whose records are audited about the finding, his rights and obligations, and the reason for such findings. For this, a notice of conclusion shall be given in ADT 02. Whether the audit conducted under subsection 1 results in detection of tax not paid, or short paid, or erroneously refunded, or ITC extra avail, then a show cause notice under section 73 or 74 can be issued by the department. The assessee can challenge those notices under 73 and 74, and then a legal battle initiates that whether the assessee agrees with those findings or not. Now, who is an authorized officer and who is a proper officer? Section 2, subsection 91 defines the term proper officer in relation to any function to be performed under this Act. Also, there is a circular number 3 by 2017, dated 5th July 2017, that determines that deputy or assistant commissioner of CGST will be the proper officer. And section 65, subsection 1, subsection 2, and subsection 5, they use the word authorized officer, commissioner or any officer authorized by him. However, 65 subsection 6 uses the word proper officer. So let us come back to subsection 6. It says, on conclusion of the audit, the proper officer shall issue within 30 days the findings and the rights and obligations. So proper officer basically is the person who conducts the field visits, does the audit, and then concludes the audit. Whereas the authorized officer is the person who actually has the power under the law to initiate the audits. Now, what is the difference between completion and conclusion? So, two words have been used. Section 65, subsection 6 uses the word conclusion on conclusion of the audit, and subsection 4 uses the word completion. So, subsection 4 says that the completion of the audit should be done within 3 months, and subsection 6 says that on the conclusion of audit, the ADT 02 has to be issued within 30 days. So, what is the difference between these two words? The Honorable Apex Court, in the matter of Messrs. Anand Brothers, has referred to the term conclusion, and it has in turn referred to the definition in Blacklaw's dictionary, where it has said that the final part of speech or writing or a judgment arrived at by reasoning and inferential statement, the closing, settling, or final arrangement of a treaty or contract is said to be the conclusion. Whereas completion is to finish, accomplish that one has started. So conclusion is a bigger circle, whereas completion is a subset of that circle. So completion can be said to be a part of that activity where the field work is done by the officers, the arrangements of the discussions have been done, the proper documentation has been completed, the affidavits have been taken, and conclusion is the final part where the formal ADT 02 has been issued with proper signatures. So that is the final part, which is called as conclusion. Now, what is section 71? It gives the powers to the officers to issue to have a field visit. Any officer under this act, authorized by the proper officer not below the rank of joint commissioner, shall have access to any place of business of a registered person to inspect books of accounts, documents, computers, computer programs, softwares, whether reinstalled in a computer or otherwise, and such other things as he may require, which may be available at such place for the purpose of carrying out any audit, scrutiny, verification, and checks. So Section 71 gives the power to the officers to make a field visit and give them the right to inspect the books of accounts, the softwares, the programs, and any other document which may be necessary for them to conduct their audit. Subsection 2. Every person in charge of place referred to in subsection 1 shall on demand make available to the officer authorized under subsection 1 or the audit party deputed by the proper officer or a cost accountant or a chartered accountant nominated under section 66 records maintained, trial balances, financial accounts, cost audit reports, income tax audit reports, or any other record which the officers have asked. So we know that under section 66, cost accountants or chartered accountants which are nominated, they can also be a part of the team of the officers, and they can also visit to the assessee, and it will be liable. The assessee would be liable to provide for all these informations asked to those nominated cost accountants, chartered accountants, and to the proper officers. Now, this section 71 is different from the section 69 of search and seizure, where the powers under search and seizure are more extensive, more aggressive. The powers under 71 are limited to that extent. Now, what is the procedure? Under section 65, subsection 3, read with rule 101, officers shall issue ADT 01. And in response to that ADT 01, the assessee would provide details asked in the notice, and then the audit would be initiated. However, if no response from the audit is received, then a reminder explaining the penal provisions of section 122, 120, and 125 of non-compliance with the government notice will be sent. And if it is still not adhered to, then a red flag for further proceedings would be done. And his GST compliance rating would also be downgraded, and internally that detail would be sent to the respective zonal units of Directorate General would also be sent. The compliance rating system is not yet started, but once it is in place, all these non-compliances would also reduce the GST compliance rate. Once the ADT 01 is issued, the audit shall be conducted by the officer, and on conclusion, the ADT 02 would be issued by the department to the assessee. Now, Section 35 also becomes a very important part in it for maintenance of accounts and records. And a separate session on this can be kept because it is a very lengthy process. Now, this is the whole flowchart of the audit that would be done by the officers. So I have summarized it in this table. Auditee will be first selected based on the risk parameters. Then audit will be issued ADT01 for audit 15 days prior to the commencement. Then audit will commence at the premises of the assessee or the department at the choice of the officer. Then assessee, after he cooperates with all the information, the audit will complete within 3 months or within an extended time period of 6 months by the commissioner. Then department sends an intimation to the unit on findings in form ADT01A, and assessee replies to those paras mentioned in ADT01A. No separate form has been issued for the same. Thereafter, after considering the replies by the assessee, the department will update and send its finding in form ADT01B, and the audit concludes. ADT02 is issued within 30 days of conclusion. Audit paras and then show cause notices will be issued in section 73 or 74 for recovery. And if the assessee doesn't agree, then the same would be used for litigation in appeals or tribunals. Now that was the basic flow of audit that would flow. Now let us understand what the department audit manual talks about the objective and principles of the audit. The objective for audit under section 65 is to measure the level of compliance of taxpayers in the light of various provisions of GST Act, to examine the accuracy of declarations made by assessee, to examine if the results produced by accounting system are correct or not, to assess underreporting or outward liability due to error, omission, or deliberate deception, and it is driven by the vision of to get the right tax at the right time. Now, the department officers have the right to check if this accounting system is correct. So, if the input is 1 plus 1, they have to check the output should be 2. They will see that the accounting flow and the computer programs are correct and there is no error in it. Because if there is an error in the basic accounting and computer softwares only, then the whole data becomes unreliable. The general guidelines issued to the department auditor. Auditor to keep in view prevalent trade practices and economic reality of the industry in which it is operating. Auditor has to take a balanced and rational approach while conducting audit. Now, this line has been taken verbatim from the audit manual and it can be used during the audit. That auditor, that is the department, has to take balanced and rational approach by conducting audit. To promote voluntary compliance by assessee, officer has to maintain speaking documents clearly explaining why a particular area was included in the audit plan. And officers have to maintain transparency and confidentiality. What period can be covered under audit? So Rule 101 speaks about it, and it says that the period which can be covered are financial year or parts of financial year. It can be for 6 months, it can be for 1 quarter, or multiple thereof. It can be 6 months for one financial year, it can be 1 quarter for another financial year, and so on. Now, internal guidelines of the department, they say that the audit of the large taxpayer has to be concluded within 6 to 8 working days, and for medium taxpayers within 4 to 6 working days, for small taxpayers within 2 to 4 working days. Now, what all should be done within these time periods? The desk review, preparation, approval of audit plan, preparation of audit report. All should be done within this time limit which has been mentioned. And if there is an audit of multiple financial years, then for each financial year, time period can be added or increased by 25%. Now, this is not permanent or fixed. These are general timelines. They can be less or they can be more also. And we know that time period is 3 months provided to the department. So these time limits seem very less, but this is what the department manual says. And what will be the criteria to determine large taxpayer, medium taxpayer, or small taxpayer? That has been not specifically defined, but there are certain parameters which will we discuss in the upcoming slides. Now, exhaust stage wise action of audit. First of all, audit teams should be created at the department level. We will prepare the schedules on the basis of the risk assessment list provided by the DG audit. So Director General of Audit is at the top, which will create a vision that how the audit assessees will be selected and on what risk parameters and by applying what scientific principles those assessees would be picked. Based on that vision, a schedule will be prepared. Thereafter, the allotment of taxpayers will be done to the audit groups, that is the audit teams. Then intimation to the registered person would be done in ADT01. A first, at first uh, brief review of the assessee would be done at a glance by having access to their registration certificates, by the returns filed on the portal being GST1, TB, 2A, 9, 9C, if applicable, payments, dispute resolution, refunds claim, e-way bills, all this data is already there with the department. So they will have a first a brief glance based on these data. Thereafter, they will conduct desk review in offline or online mode and upload the result of the desk review. They will upload it to the monthly monetary committee meetings. More on it a little later. Then they will prepare the audit plan, carry out the verification and upload the verification report, upload draft audit report for the MCM, monthly committee meetings, within 10 to 15 days. Then at the MCM, which is a MCM is like a committee meeting which will review the work done by the field officers, and they will examine each and every audit para that the officers have taken out from the audit done. They will upload the minutes of the monthly monitoring committee meetings within 24 hours of the meeting. They will upload the final audit report once the draft audit report has been examined by MCM. Then the final audit report will be submitted within 30 days. And thereafter, the final ADT 02 will be issued. Thereafter, the registered person will be given the communication regarding the future course of action that they have to follow. Now, how will the assessee be selected? So, as discussed earlier in brief, that the initial criteria was that the taxpayer is large, it is paying a large amount of duty, that a turnover is large. So let's pick up that assessee and see if it is all right. Now the criteria has become more scientific. It is the vision document of the department which says that focus is not to audit large number of assessees. The focus is to only choose a few assessees with proper planning and proper audit material, so that quantity of audit is not important, but quality of audit becomes important. And the selection will be done on a scientific manner. And how will that scientific manner be implemented? That will be done on the basis of assessment of risk to revenue. So risk assessment would be done, and that would be done again through various informations that are already available with the department on the portal, on the basis of data analytics, on the basis of data and information shared by the CBDT to CBIC and by CBIC to CBDT. We know that memorandum of understanding is also there between the two departments, that they will share some crucial information on every quarterly basis. Plus, they will issue an annexure GST AN12, which we will discuss in the end. And on those informations also, the department would be able to assess the risk category of the assessees. Also, the risk assessment methodology will be provided by Director General of Audit, and it will be communicated to the Audit Commissionerate. So that has the criteria for selection has become very complex and more scientific. Now let us understand the management of audit hierarchy. The topmost is Director General of Audit. They act as a visionary of the department. They are the nodal agency who will guide, monitor, coordinate effective implementation of the audit system. They will also advise the board CBIC for measures of enhanced tax compliances. Since these are the people who will create the vision and they are in touch with the department, they will provide the information to the CBIC and they will communicate that what all is happening when it comes to the GST implementation in India, when it comes to the GST audits in India, and if any changes are to be made, they would communicate it to the CBIC. This is headed by the Principal Director General. Then there are 7 zonal units in India, one at Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Kolkata, and Mumbai. And they work under Director General of Audit. They are required to ensure effective implementation of the audit system, and they will also evolve audit techniques. So these are like the planning department. They will evolve audit techniques. They will tell the audit commissionerates that this is how you have to implement the audit techniques and find out various non-compliances. This is headed by the Additional Director General. They will also find out the number of assessees for audit, whether they are sufficient or not, and they will also act as a check, act as a control that audits are conducted as per law. So if anything is happening illegal, then probably a complaint can be made to the Additional Director General, saying that the audit is not conducted as per law. Then there are zonal principal chief commissioners. They act as the link between the Director General of Audit and GST audit commissionerates of the zone. Who are GST audit commissionerates? These are divided into various sections. For example, planning and coordination section, administrative personnel vigilance section, technical legal section, risk management section, and then circles. So each commissionerate has one section, and in the each section they have to prepare and implement the respective activities and roles. Now comes those officers which are there for the implementation. So the officers till now that we have discussed were into more or less into planning and advising that what field officers have to do. Now these officers that we are now going to discuss are the officers which actually have to execute. So when it comes to the executing capacity, the topmost person is the principal commissioner and the commissioners. Now what is their role? They will ensure that the selection of the SSC to be done during the year on the basis of risk assessment is properly done and is done within the consultation with topmost person, Director General of Audit. They will also ensure that 20% of the taxpayers to be audited are selected based on local risk factors and obtain the approval of Chief Commissioner. So you know that India is a federal structure, and also there are CGST and SGST acts. So for each state, each SGST may have a different local risk factor. So based on that local risk factor, the commissioner of the respective state will ensure that 20% of the taxpayers have to be selected on the basis of the local risk factor. Local risk factor can be anything like political, or there may be some natural calamity like floods which happened in Kerala, and hence Kerala says act. Kerala says flood cess was also enacted. So these are the local risk factors, and they will approve the desk review and audit plan in respect of 5 assessees of each audit circle. For top 5 assessees, the direct review would be done by the commissioners. They will hold either circle-wise meetings or monthly committee meetings once a month to take various decisions. They will ensure that the MCM is held by using the offline audit report utility. No paper-based audit report is prepared. So it is in line with the India's vision of going towards digital India. They will also review audit performance and steps taken for improvement. They will take remedial measures based on the report of audit groups. They will review performance and participations of the additional and joint commissioners. They will interact with major assessees of the state, and they will obtain the feedback on the audit system. They will submit periodical report to zonal ADG or Director General of Audit, and they will send a list containing details of show cause notices issued by the audit commissionerate to each of the executive commissionerate on a monthly basis. Then below the commissioners are additional and joint commissioners. Their roles are also similar, but with respect to less riskier assessees as compared to the assessees which are taken care of by the commissioners. So they will approve the desk review and audit plan in respect of all large and medium units, other than the top 5 units, which are already undertaken by the commissioner himself. They will review the audit plans of small units approved by the deputy and assistant commissioners, interact with the management of the large units. They will ensure that the audit report is properly filled, uploaded in their monthly committee meetings. They will also scrutinize nil draft audit reports. So, dear friends, this is an important point. A scrutiny of nil draft audit reports will be done by the additional and joint commissioners. So that means that no addition has been done by the superintendents or the proper officers that visit. Since the selection of the assessee has become very scientific, so it becomes obvious that once the assessee is picked on the basis of a scientific risk assessment, then why is there a reason that there is nil addition? So that has to be justified. So nil draft audit report is also an issue. Then comes deputy and assistant commissioners who are in charge of the section of audit commissionerate. They will supervise the work relating to the respective sections of headquarters. Then deputy and assistant commissioners in charge of circles. They will coordinate, plan the overall management of the audit circle. They will monitor the maintenance of registered persons, master files and registers. They will approve. They will approve the test review and audit plan in respect of all small units. Then they will interact with registered person on a timely basis. And similarly, some other small roles which you can go through. Now, what is the concept of accredited status of SSE? Accredited status of SSE is like a comfortable tag given that okay, this SSE is a company, and then there is no need for regular audits for this SSE. So if SSE is cooperative, compliant, then within their systems, they will give a tag that this SSE is a accredited status SSE. This is similar to the status given in customs. It is given based on their proven track record of compliances with tax laws and procedures. And such SSE then may not be subject to audit every audit cycle. And it has been decided that such SSE will be normally audited only after 3 years from the last audit. But on what criteria, what is the procedure to give the accreditation status, this has not been defined, this has not been communicated separately. Now, profiling of the registered person. Now, how the registered person's profiling would be done? Before audit is commenced, department does profiling, and the purpose is to do a proper scientific audit and to assess the risk factors even before the audit is commenced. The process is that data is collected, and it can be collected through various information which are already available by the department, being application for registration, registration document, returns, annual returns, income tax returns, contracts, e-way bills, etc. So we know that substantial amount of data is already available at GST portal. And if we have not filed our GST 1 properly, then they can seek the GST 2A from our recipients. And if we do not provide the purchase invoices properly, they can check our GST 2A. Basically, the whole chain is properly linked in GST system. So the data is already there, and it is not advisable to hide anything from them. And it is also compulsory that the audit group number of the audit group should be mentioned in the notice. Now, what is this audit group? This we will discuss once we see the demo audit notice in the end. Now, preparation of audit schedule. Then the officers will prepare audit schedules in such a way as to make optimum use of available resources. The resources are human resources. So we know that the number of officers are limited in every circle and assessees are large. So they have to make proper utilization of the officers. They will make an annual plan. The audit commissionerate will release an annual plan indicating the names of registered persons proposed to be audited. So which assessee would be audited, that is already decided, mentioned in annual plan. Now that is a very secretive document. Now the timing of the audit is also mentioned, that when such audit will begin and for which such assessee the audit would begin. The strength of staff would also be mentioned, that what would be the strength of the team visiting those assessees, and the categorization of the assessee would be done if he is a large, medium or small. So how will it be determined, large, medium and small? As mentioned earlier, there is no fixed criteria, but certain guidelines are there. For example, one criteria can be turnover, and whenever aggregate turnover comes, we refer to the definition section 2 section 6, which includes exempt, export, etc. They will also see that what is the available manpower in audit commissionerates. If the manpower is less, then definitely they will have to pick and choose only the most riskiest of the assessees. And if the manpower availability is large, then they can definitely audit large number of assessees, and they can also then move from their vision of quality audit to quantity audit. Hence, it depends on various factors. It also depends the total number of registered persons and turnover of such registered person in the jurisdiction of audit commissionerate. It should be noted that audit threshold limits may vary from one commissionerate to another in view of varying number of registered persons. The categorization of registered taxpayers will be done on the basis of guidelines issued by apex body, that is Director General of Audit. So all this vision would be flowing from the DGA, and this methodology would be communicated by January or February of the financial year, so that it can be properly implemented from April of the next financial year. The scheduling for this can be reviewed by the department within uh, half yearly or quarterly or yearly, but more or less within half year for necessary adjustments. There is also a concept of theme-based audits. This is at an all India level. A particular theme can be picked up. So, for example, a sensitive commodity like pharmaceuticals. So, all those assessees or companies which fall in this pharmaceutical type of industry, they may be subject to the audit under Section 65, and then the whole pharmaceutical industry can be under Section 65 audit at all India level. Again, this theme would be made and selected at the Director General of Audit based on systematic and methodological risk analysis of internal data, various economic indicators, third-party information from tax and other regulatory authorities, other relevant sources of data. The DG audit would also consult trade, industry, and suppliers, and based on the various inputs and information received, they can decide that should there be a theme-based audit or not, and if yes, then what should be the theme. This theme audit would be carried out at zonal levels, and the theme for the audit would be selected based on data provided by DG to relevant commissionerates, and thereafter they would initiate the theme-based audits. And the audit manual also contains things like reviewing taxpayers' data, actions to be taken by audit groups, scrutiny of important documents, cost accounting records, reconciliations with third party. For audit of traders, a checklist is also provided, walkthrough process, audit plan. So since it is a huge manual, and due to paucity of time, I would select certain important things out of these, and I will discuss them in brief. Let us see how ADT01 looks like. This is the demo of ADT01. It will have a DIN number if it is issued by the central officer. There is a lot of dispute or different views that whether DIN number has to be mentioned on every such notice or not. So the idea is that DIN number has to be mentioned on every notice issued by the central officer. Every officer of the CGST has to mention DIN, But when it comes to the notices issued by the officers of SGST, there are two opinions. One says that every provision applicable on CGST is materia applicable on the provisions of SGST also. But then there is another view which says that they have to separately mention in their SGST Act, and it is not necessary for the each SGST Act mentioned in. So we should not fight that okay, DIN number is not mentioned and it is an invalid notice if it is issued by the SGST. If it is issued by CGST, then definitely DIN should be there. If it is not issued, if the notice is issued by SGST and DIN is not there, then a polite reply can be made that kindly mention DIN number, and thereafter the proceedings can be initiated. Now, DIN number is mentioned, but how to check if it is valid or not? Now, for that we can go to the website cbicddm.gov.in, and there is the option of DIN utility over there. And once you enter the DIN number, the details of the officer issuing it, those will auto populate, and thereafter we would know that okay, this is a valid DIN number and it is not a fraud. Now, how is a notice drafted? So internal audit group number 5C, comprising of so and so officers. So you see the internal audit group number has been mentioned as has been envisaged in their audit manual. So this group number has to be mentioned, comprising of the team members, have been authorized and deputed by the Assistant Commissioner CGST Audit Circle, state name, to undertake the audit of the books of accounts and record in accordance with the provisions of Section 65. Propose to conduct the said audit at your place of business on any day after 15 working days from the date on which all documents as requested are received. So 15 working days has been provided. In accordance with the above, you are hereby required to furnish documents and record as mentioned in Annexure A. Annexure A contains the various details of documents which are asked by the officer in person or through your authorized representative or through post within 15 days. You are also requested to attend in person or designate a person, preferably a senior employee who is well conversant with working and accounts of the establishment. So the audits that have been a part of under Section 65, I have seen that certain clients say or that I was not there in 2017-18. I'm a new appointee, or I do not know the CA who did audit under NC was different. The notices generally use this language that a senior employee who is well conversant with the working and accounts of the establishment should be there. There is no excuse that okay, this a finance person, finance head, or CFO, he was not there at that time. It is the responsibility of the SSE to make available a proper person who is well conversant with the facts of that financial year. For coordinating with the audit team, timely completion of the audit. The name, designation, and contact number and email ID of the person so designated may also be communicated. You are further requested to extend full cooperation with the officers deputed for audit and make available all the records as requested by the audit team. Further, it should be noted that the proposed audit is the statutory audit as per the departmental instructions in regard to audit and has no relation to any other audit conducted by CAG. Sometimes the Comptroller and Auditor General of India also does a SARA audit, and so the note clearly says that any findings under SARA are different, and we are not much concerned about that. We will do our own findings. All the documents information as sought above will be addressed. In case of failure to comply with the notice, it would be presumed that you are not in possession of such books of accounts, and proceedings as deemed fit may be initiated as per the provisions of the CGST Act. And rules may thereunder against you without making any further correspondence in this regard. So this is how the basic notice is drafted. These can be the various list of documents which can be asked in Annexure A. They also ask for various annexures now. So you see the first point says Annexure GST AM 1 GSTM 5, 6, as per the prescribed pro forma, duly self-attested. Now, what are these annexures? So this is GST 1 annexure. This is basically the master file of the registered person, where complete details of the persons, the directors, etc. are mentioned. For example, name of the registered person with GSTIN, name of the principal place of business, then whether what is the nature of the entity, constitution of the business, name, designation, residential address, and so on. They have also asked for HSN wise details for outward and inward. They have asked for a lot of information. Now it depends whether we are in the position to give such information or not, because I receive certain queries that as far as outward details of HSN are concerned, it is easy to provide, but as far as HSN details of inward supplies are there, it becomes difficult. So my view is that it is not necessary to give complete details. You see, especially if you are not in the position to give so. Also in GST 9, the table for HSN wise detail of inward supplies has been made optional. And even before it was made optional, they had asked only for the 10% of the total inward supplies for which the HSN details could be given. So it depends on what level officer and the assessee are able to meet their mental wavelengths. So if the departmental officer is willing to accept limited information, then it is well and good. Then there is a GST AM3, which again asks for informations like annual reports, profit and loss account, balance sheet, trial balance sheets, TDS returns, etc. Then there is GST AM4, where ratio analysis would be done, and if a particular ratio falls in the red flag category, then that could be checked in depth. For example, input tax credit availed. So total tax paid through electronic cash ledger and input tax credit ledger. Input tax credit availed is to total tax paid through cash. Then total inward supply is to total outward supply. Then input tax credit availed on capital goods is to addition to the capital goods. So all these ratios would result in certain number. And if it is above or below a particular acceptable parameter, then that would be checked in depth. Then there is Annexure 5. So I personally feel this is a very good annexure for finding out some discrepancies. It is a comparative chart of items from various financial statements and returns. For example, they will take a particular item and they will compare it with the information sent in various reports. For example, quantity manufactured. Now that can be checked through records maintained under section 35, that is books of accounts maintenance. Then income tax audit report at serial number 28 BV3 would mention the quantity manufactured. Annual report where scheduled balance sheets would also have the same information. The ITR 6 would also have the same information in part A, QD. Uh, Let us take an example where GST 9 is also applicable. Let's say goods cleared quantity. So the goods cleared quantity and value can be seen definitely on the books of accounts. Also, table 17 and 18, which is for the HSN wise summary for outward and inward. The same detail also goes in cost audit report at serial number 4. And same also goes in income tax audit report at serial 28. It also goes in schedule to balance sheet, also goes in ITR 6. So if there is any mismatch, then that would again be a red flag and they would ask for the details. It is sometimes there can be possibility because each form goes uh, in accordance with the respective underlying law. So ITR may be filed according to the ICDS standards. Annual report may be filed according to the Companies Act. Cost audit reports through cost audit rules, GST 9 through GST Act. So as far as the law is concerned, and if there is a difference because the particular law says something that how a particular item should be disclosed, then that is okay. But apart from the disclosure standards, if the figures are not matching, then that will create problems. A big form is there in Annex 5. Then there is Annex 6, which is basically a complete internal audit. It is a flow. It is a questionnaire of various types. For example, purchases has so many questions, that whether all purchases are centralized or not. So through these informations, we could check if cross charge is done or not. Outward supplies has a separate questionnaire. All this is asked and they have to be replied. Job work, tax accounting, stores. You see the quantum of questions they have asked. And with this, I come to the last part of my webinar, which are frequently asked questions. So can they ask for entire books of accounts? Yes, they can. Can a SGST officer do the audit for the same financial year once audit is already done by GST officer? Yes, in theory, yes, but would they do it practically, given the fact that the resources are limited as far as the teams are concerned? But in theory, yes, they can do it. The burden to prove the burden of proof to prove the guilt is on the department. And as a SSC, do we have to reply to all of their answers? Yeah, well, you should, if proper cooperation has to be done, but then it is also not necessary that all answers should be done. You can easily tell them that you can mention your findings in 73, 74. Thereafter, the legal recourse could be taken. When to believe that the audit is commenced, I have discussed that this is not conclusive, but once the field visit is done, we can say that, okay, on this particular date, the field visit has been done, so 3 months have now started. But once the data is asked again and again, we never know when to start those 3 months. We believe that the complete data is asked, and days later they may again ask for something. Now the ADT01 notice we saw, it had such a large list of documents in Annex A. So we can at that time also feel that now that the ADT01 has been issued to us, that would be the date of commencement of audit. But I have seen the officer keep on asking data one after another. So this is something which is not very concrete. Can they ask data in soft copy? Yes, they can ask, but it is also advisable to give something physically so that the receiving and acknowledgement can be taken from the proper officers. A permission to enter premises is under 71 or 67. So as I mentioned, 67 is having draconian powers for search and seizure. This is not so. This is not so over here. In section 65, the powers are a little relaxed, and these powers are defined in section 71. They do not have the power to break open certain things which they have in search and seizure. And it's DIN compulsory. This I've already discussed. And 15 days notice period is from the date of issue or served. The word mentioned is informed in section 65, and in my view, it has to be read with the word in parameter with the served. So with this, Shweta ji, I conclude my deliberation, and I'm open for the questions.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really wonderful session, and we have some query related to this topic. So can we take?
Yeah.
Can we
Please.
ask? सर फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मेरा अपना क्वेश्चन है ये कि जैसे दिन अगर हमारे पास नोटिस में नहीं आता तो क्या वो वैलिड हम फिर हमारे लिए जरूरी है उसका रिप्लाई भी करना क्योंकि
देखिए,
वो इनवैलिड ही हो जाएगा उस केस में
मैं ये मानता हूँ कि अगर CGST ऑफिसर ने उसको इशू किया है तो दिन होना चाहिए. If the notice is received from the state department, तो आप उससे कोऑपरेट कर भी सकते हैं, नहीं भी कर सकते. अगर आपको पता है कि यू आर नॉट एट एनी फॉल्ट, तो उसको कोऑपरेट करके क्लोज करने में कोई बुराई नहीं है. बट अगर आपको लगता है कि उस रिप्लाई से लिटिगेशन क्रिएट हो सकता है, तो यू कैन पोलाइटली फर्स्ट आस्क दैट दिस नोटिस डजंट हैव डिन, काइंडली इशू द सेम. तो 99% टाइम तो उसके बाद को रिप्लाई नहीं आता. और अगर आ जाता है तो देन यू कैन प्रोसीड विद द अदर प्रोसीजर्स.
ओके थैंक यू
The session is over.
नहीं सर, अभी तो सवाल बाकी हैं सबके. सर एक मेरा सवाल ये था कि सपोज किसी की 20 ब्रांच है या 12 ब्रांच है,
जी,
तो उस केस में हर जगह ऑडिट होगी या कोई हेड ऑफिस में होगी?
तो audit under section 65 is GST based. So we know that
Right.
GST law is made GSTN wise and the concept of distinct persons. तो जो ऑडिट किसी एक जीएसटीएन पे हो गया तो नहीं कह सकते कि दूसरे जीएसटीएन पे नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हर जीएसटी एक्ट डिफरेंट है। कुछ कुछ सेक्शंस और प्रोविजन ऐसे मिलेंगे कि जीएसटी एक्ट डिफरेंट मिलेगा व्हेन कंपेयर्ड विद सीजीएसटी एक्ट। सो हर स्टेट का ऑफिसर चाहेगा कि मैं अपने एक्ट के हिसाब से ऑडिट करूं, और जो जुरिसडिक्शन एक पर्टिकुलर स्टेट के ऑफिसर के पास होगी, वो जुरिसडिक्शन दूसरा ऑफिसर के पास दूसरे स्टेट के लिए नहीं होगा। तो से अगर 20 जीएसटीएन है और एक जीएसटीएन का ऑफिसर आता है, तो वो रिमेनिंग 19 जीएसटीएन का ऑडिट नहीं कर सकते। तो डेफिनेटली ऑडिट कैन बी डन एट एवरी जीएसटीएन।
सर एक किसी यूजर का चैट बॉक्स में सवाल है कि सपोज कीजिए कि जैसे उन्होंने कुछ एनालिसिस कर लिया और उन्होंने बताया कि जी आपका ये एक्स डिमांड बनता है, लेट्स से कि 50 लाख रुपीस का ये डिमांड बनता है, ठीक है, आरसीएम का ही चलो उन्होंने लायबिलिटी निकाल दिया, जनरली जो वो लोग करते हैं। अब उसका इनपुट नहीं मिलेगा अगर वो नोटिस दे देते हैं तो, या उस केस में कैसे रहता है, क्या अप्रोच रहनी चाहिए?
देखिए, आरसीएम के ऊपर व्यू चलता है, पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स के टाइम से आपको इसका इनपुट मिलेगा। सो द इम्पोर्टेंट कंडीशन टू क्लेम इनपुट अंडर सेक्शन 16 इज द डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस। और जब हम आरसीएम में पेमेंट करते हैं तो जो इनवॉइस बनता है वो पेमेंट वाउचर बनता है। सो वी कैन से दैट अंडर सेक्शन 31 पेमेंट ऑफ आरसीएम हैज बीन डन थ्रू अ पेमेंट वाउचर। अब वो पेमेंट वाउचर हमारा बना लेटेस्ट से 2020 में, इवन इफ द आरसीएम कैन बी ऑफ 2017-18, पेमेंट हमने 2020 करी, पेमेंट वाउचर 2020 में बना। तो बेस्ड ऑन दैट पेमेंट वाउचर हम आज भी उसका इनपुट ले सकते हैं, प्रोवाइडेड ये जो फाइंडिंग है ये सेक्शन 74 में नहीं होनी चाहिए, बिकॉज उसका क्रेडिट सेक्शन 17 सब सेक्शन 5 में ब्लॉक्ड है। द नोटिस इज इशूड अंडर सेक्शन 73, उसके बेसिस पे आरसीएम की पेमेंट करते हैं, तो उसका हम इनपुट ले सकते हैं ये बोल के कि पेमेंट वाउचर आज बना है और वो विद इन द लिमिटेशन पीरियड आज भी है। बट वही नोटिस अगर 74 में आ जाता है तो हम नहीं ले पाएंगे, क्योंकि दैट इज स्पेसिफिकली ब्लॉक्ड इन सेक्शन 17 सबसेक्शन 5।
करेक्ट। और सर एक बात बताइए, डिपार्टमेंट क्या कोई ऐसी क्वेरी भी रेज कर सकता है कि जी आपका पेमेंट वाउचर सही तरीके से इशू नहीं किया हुआ है, या पेमेंट वाउचर आपने नहीं बनाया है, यू हैव जस्ट पास्ड द एंट्री एंड जस्ट टेकन द इनपुट एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बोल सकता है, क्योंकि जो कंडीशन है टू अवेल द क्रेडिट इज सेक्शन अंडर सेक्शन 16, वन ऑफ द कंडीशंस इज इनवॉइस, और इनवॉइस वैलिड होना चाहिए। वो पता चलेगा रूल 46 के थ्रू। रूल 46 से रूल 55 के बीच में जो भी रूल्स हैं वो सारा बताते हैं कि किस नेचर ऑफ इनवॉइस के लिए क्या क्या पर्टिकुलर्स होने मेंशन है। तो रूल 46 17 पर्टिकुलर्स प्रिस्क्राइब करता है, रूल 55 डिलीवरी सन का है, वैसे पेमेंट वाउचर्स का है, रिफंड वाउचर्स का है, रिसिप्ट वाउचर्स का है। तो वो सारे जो प्रिस्क्राइब पर्टिकुलर्स हैं अगर वो नहीं है तो वो वैलिड इनवॉइस ही नहीं है, और वैलिड इनवॉइस ही नहीं है तो इनपुट ही नहीं मिलना चाहिए। तो दैट कैन बी a situation where there can be a problem.
So whether they can ask that this has not been printed, these are only computerized and you have only marked the entry in the system, but this is not printed?
मेरा व्यू उसमें बड़ा क्लियर है कि इनवॉइस प्रिंट होना कहीं नहीं लिखा लॉ में। तो अगर आपके पास सॉफ्टवेयर है तो दैट इज अ प्रॉपर इनवॉइस। ओरिजिनल फॉर रिसिपिएंट होना चाहिए। वंस यू हैव अ ओरिजिनल फॉर रिसिपिएंट इनवॉइस, इवन इफ इट इज इन सॉफ्ट, इनपुट कैन बी अवेल्ड।
No, that is not in the soft. Now, I'm asking you that is entry and the transaction has been passed in the system, and the transaction is appearing in the system. That's it. And generally, what
इनवॉइस
people
तो
do,
फिर
they just pass a single entry.
इनवॉइस तो होना चाहिए, फिर इनवॉइस तो जरूरी है। विदाउट इनवॉइस अब जैसे 17 पर्टिकुलर्स हैं, वो एक सिंगल ट्रांजैक्शन में या सिंगल एंट्री में वो 17 पर्टिकुलर्स रिकॉर्ड हो ही नहीं सकते। देयर इज फॉर्मेट मेंशनड, इट इज ओनली मेंशनड कि ये पर्टिकुलर होने चाहिए। तो आप बोल सकते हो कि जी मैंने अपने सॉफ्टवेयर में वो 17 पर्टिकुलर्स मेंशन कर दिए हैं, बट प्रॉपर इनवॉइस इज नेसेसरी।
सर इन माय ओपिनियन दिस केस में जो सेक्शन 31 है उसमें ये लिखा है कि अनरजिस्टर्ड के केस में हमें पेमेंट वाउचर इशू करना है आरसीएम के केस में.
So RCM has two sections, 31 subsection 1 clause F and clause G. So clause F is for is a self invoice which is to be issued once you receive the goods or services, and G is once you make the payment. तो अगर पेमेंट जब तक नहीं देंगे पेमेंट वाउचर नहीं बनेगा, और जब तक पेमेंट वाउचर बनेगा नहीं तो वो हम उसका इंटरेस्ट नहीं ले पाएंगे, बिकॉज सेक्शन 16 की कंडीशन अदरवाइज फुलफिल नहीं होगी. अगर सामने वाला जीटीए रजिस्टर्ड है और उसका टैक्स हमको आरसीएम में पे करना है, तो भी तो हमको आरसीएम में पेमेंट वाउचर इशू करना होगा. As far as unregistered is concerned, for that section 9 subsection 4 comes into play, but section 9 subsection 3 के लिए या section 9 subsection 5 के लिए भी एक डॉक्यूमेंट इन रिकॉर्ड तो होना चाहिए ना, जिससे हम बोल सके कि दिस इज द डेट ऑन विच वी हैव मेड द पेमेंट, दिस इज द पेमेंट वाउचर, कंप्लाइंग विद ऑल द पर्टिकुलर्स रेड विद रूल 46, और इसके बेसिस पे हम इनपुट ले रहे हैं. डिपार्टमेंट हमेशा इनवॉइस मांगेगा.
करेक्ट सर. और किसी यूजर का कोई सवाल? ऐसा लग रहा है शुभम भाई आज सबको बड़ा अच्छे से समझ आ गया है. मेरे ही 2-3 सवाल थे और एकदम सबको क्लियर समझ आ चुका है. फिर भी मैं आग्रह करूंगा कि कोई अगर सवाल मुकेश जी यूट्यूब पर हो तो आप देख लीजिए. मुकेश जी आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही, आप म्यूट पर हो.
एक थोड़ा सा कस्टमाइज्ड क्वेश्चन है मेरा.
हाँ जी.
डिपार्टमेंटल ऑडिट हमें वो लेने के लिए हमें कहाँ पे इम्पैनल्ड अपने फर्म को कराना चाहिए और कहाँ पे अप्रोच थोड़ा सा
शायद स्पेशल ऑडिट की बात कर रहे हैं मुकेश जी.
यस 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 स्पेशल ऑडिट की बात कर रहा हूँ. वो कैसे एक प्रोफेशनल को कैसे अप्रोच करना चाहिए, इस पे थोड़ा सा.
देखिए सारा गेम तो रीजनिंग का है, तो अपने प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर हैं वो ही बताएंगे. और यूजुअली क्या है, उसका एक विंडो ओपन होता है जिसमें प्रोफेशनल अपने आप को रजिस्टर करा सकते हैं. उसका एडवर्टाइजमेंट न्यूज़पेपर में भी आता है. और अगर कंडीशंस और पैरामीटर्स फर्म की फुलफिल होती हैं तो उस विंडो में आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. देन दे आफ्टर यू कैन विजिट द कमिश्नर और प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर.
ओके.
और then the ball lies in their court.
Okay.
मुकेश जी फिर सेशन को
हम यहाँ पे एंड कर सकते हैं.
जी जी.
मेरे ख्याल से अब कोई वो नहीं है. थोड़ा सा शुभम सर की तरफ से वो नेटवर्क का शायद इशू था, तो प्रॉपर एक वॉइस में कई लोगों का वो आया कि क्लैरिटी नहीं आ रहा था. नेटवर्क का थोड़ा सा स्लो होगा शायद. और अब और जो वीडियो है वो भी मूविंग पोजीशन में नहीं था. तो ये सारे वो चीज़ें थी. बट आफ्टर ऑल बहुत ही शानदार सेशन रहा शुभम जी. और हम सभी प्रोफेशनल जो देख चुके हैं, कई लोग यूट्यूब पे भी लाइव थे सेशन में, और जो बाद में देखेंगे भी उनके लिए एक बहुत ही अच्छी और ज्ञानवर्धक इस विषय पे, खास तौर पे जिस विषय पे आपने लिया है वो सेशन रहा. और उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप इसे जरूर लाभ उठाएंगे. सभी दर्शकों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आज के इस सेशन में जुड़ने के लिए. साथ ही शुभम अग्रवाल जी, आज आपने कीमती समय निकाला और ग्लोबल चैम्बर ऑफ प्रोफेशनल के प्लेटफॉर्म पे आए और अपना ये जो एक्सपर्टीज है आपने शेयर किया इस पर्टिकुलर विषय पे, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। साथ ही हमारे आज के मॉडरेटर श्वेता जिंदल जी, आपको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने बहुत ही शानदार तरीके से आज का सेशन मॉडरेट किया। और हमारे प्रेसिडेंट साहब रिशु गोयल जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने जिस तरीके से इस पूरे प्रोग्राम को, ये 3 डे कोर्स को आपने डिजाइन किया और सभी स्पीकर और बाकी और जो टीम, सपोर्टिंग टीम है, उनको कोऑर्डिनेट करके इसको आगे बढ़ाया, बहुत ही काबिल तारीफ रहा। इसके साथ साथ मैं सभी ऑडियंसेस को जो आज हमारे साथ जुड़े, उन सबको धन्यवाद करता हूँ। और इसके साथ ही आज का ये जो सेशन है,
एक बात बीच में कहना चाहूंगा।
यस,
मैं ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा शुभम जी से कि कल के सेशन और परसों के सेशन में आप प्लीज सर बने रहें,
यस,
और
जी
जितना
जरूर,
उस सेशन के अंदर